Hey out there Akronites, welcome to season 2 of Around Akron with Blue Green. And it's still about that city right there, Akron, Ohio. Now in this episode, we're gonna go investigating some interesting things, some underground things. Some would say eccentric things. I would say uniquely Akronite things. And that's what I love about this city, that city right there, Akron, Ohio. We're gonna visit an underground car collection. And let me tell you, this is amazing. For all you gearheads out there, you gotta see this. Now, if you've never heard about the bomb shelter, you're gonna wanna stick around for this one. This is a museum where you can actually buy pieces and take home with you. Did you know that there was a Wolf Creek at Wolf Ledges? And actually there was an aqueduct, and there still is at the Aqueduct Brewery. And we're gonna see what this aqueduct's all about. Now to kick this show off, we're gonna head over to Kenmore Boulevard and we're gonna go to the Dragon's Mantle. Now this is a metaphysical shop and they have all kinds of really cool stuff. Let's go see what the Dragon Mantle's all about.
In a nutshell, we deal with people, or we cater to, we here to service people of non-traditional belief systems and faiths. We deal with a lot of people of pagan background that work with other gods, goddesses, pantheons, things along those lines. The dragons were kind of my spirit animal, or Patronus if you're a Harry Potter fan. I've always related to dragons. I have them personally tattooed on my body. I have them decorating my home. And at the time I started the business from home, doing the custom sewing work, a mantle is a cloak. It's a protective piece of clothing so that you do have something, a safe, secure type of feeling is what went into the name. You know, dragons are what we do, and you know, the mantle this is a safe spot for everyone. I was raised Catholic. We went through proper Catholic schooling, the catechism, stuff like that. My parents actually put us through it a little bit late. But I don't think there was a Wednesday evening during that time that my parents did not receive a phone call home because of the questions I was asking. And even as a preteen, early teen, when we went through these catechism classes, I was not satisfied with the answers of because the Bible says so, or because that's the way it was always done. I wanted more. I needed to know the whys and wherefores. Then at my 18th birthday, I said enough's enough. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna pretend, I'm not gonna play. I kept my family happy until I was of legal age. And then I just started going out and learning. There was not a lot in the way of stores or other people I could talk to at that time that I was aware of anyway. And so I just started reading. I started sucking it all down. I've now been practicing almost 30 years, still studying, still learning something new every single day. And I try to branch out and read and learn as much as I can about other paths and traditions also, so that I can help my customers to the best of their ability, best of my ability. What most people call prayers is what we do is spell work. The big difference is that for most people, I can't speak for everybody of course, but for the huge part, a lot of people when they say their prayers, they're giving everything up to their particular God. When we do a spell, we are doing basically, we ask for support and help from whatever God or goddess that we're calling on, but we expect to do it ourselves. We know that those powers are within us, and we just call on those powers from within ourselves to get the work done. As far as the other items, gemstones, incense, essential oils, yes, gemstones being from the earth, they are a natural living thing, and that is contrary to what some people believe. They think it's a rock, but they were formed, they have grown, they actually carry energies and properties that can help us in our daily life, just carrying them with us. A lot of the information on those stones and what they do comes from years of observation, but that these stones do carry specific vibrations that do help you along your way. The same with incense, frankincense, and myrrh. They are hard resins that are used in incenses, both burned on charcoal and in stick form that most people are familiar with. They have scientifically proven now that frankincense and myrrh raises the vibration of an area where it is burned, which dispels negativity. And that's why that particular combination is used in many churches. It is used by many people of alternate belief systems for the same purpose. We do carry a wide variety of statuary, some depicting gods and goddesses from different pantheons. If you remember your Greek mythology and Roman mythology from high school, it's those gods and goddesses that, many people still go to and call on for help in their everyday lives. We also have other ones. Some people, believe in fairies. They want them in their home. We have statuary depicting fairies, things along those lines, as well as the dragons. Alchemy is not just turning lead into gold, as so many believe from their light reading or whatever. It's also a change on a spiritual level to pull yourself out of the mundane or everyday world and make yourself a more spiritual being. As you're doing these things with your hands, it also affects your mind and how you think and how you see things in a different way. We also have everything you would need to work with any of the things we have. We currently carry over 250 different herbs and resins. The majority of them are organic, but we also have then, stuff to make teas out of those. We offer custom spice blends for your culinary, for your cooking. We have mortars and pestles if you are blending your own herbs for different things, be it for cooking or for, a potion, or if you need a salve made to fix your children's bee stings and, a minor cut and scrape. We do carry essential oils, over 200 different essential oils now, if I'm thinking correctly. And we also custom blend oils and herbs for those who need it. You want something special, and we can do that for you. Even though I've mentioned that we do provide supplies and needs for people of alternate beliefs and faiths, everybody is welcome here. If you want to learn, if you have an open mind, come on in. Everybody's welcome. We do classes if you want to know more. I'm always here to talk to. Always something going on. So.
The roots of beer making go back to the 1800s in this building right here. And guess what? They're making beer here again at the Aqueduct Brewery. This is truly a mom-pop setup, meaning a husband and wife teamed up to make beer and sell it here. Now, to kick this story off, there's actually an aqueduct directly underneath me here where the Wolf River or creek once ran. Let's go see what this place is all about.
The river behind me has a long history. The history comes from the original brewery that sat on this land, Wolf Ledge's Brewing Company. It was owned by a gentleman named Gessler, who then brought in another gentleman named Burkhart. The Burkhart name is one most people will be familiar with, as this is the Burkhart Brewery. But in the 1800s, when Wolf Ledge's was founded, they didn't have plumbing, they didn't have piping, they didn't have electricity, so they needed fresh running water to brew beer. So at the time, they used the open river, which is Wolf Creek, to brew the beer. This area used to be a big picnic area. They used to come out and play in the river and have a picnic on the hill. And when Wolf Ledge's brewed beer here, of course, they didn't imbibe. Over time, it went from the Wolf Ledge's Brewing Company to Burkhart Brewing Company. He eventually bought out Gessler after the main brew house burned to the ground. He then built the tallest part of this building, which is a 6-story brew house. And that was completed in 1880. Now, Willem Burkhart passed away in 1882, but his wife, Margaretha, took over operations of the business. She diversified into real estate, ice, and coal. So they were able to continue operating out of it. Over time, the industry in the area grew. The city put both the Little Cuyahoga and Wolf Creek Underground, so did Burkhardt. They encapsulated the river in a cistern, which is what you see behind me.
Now, when typhoid hit the area, all they really knew about it is that it was a disease carried in fresh running water. So they stopped using the river water. They dug the well. They dug down 16 feet to groundwater, started using the well water, and advertised it as the cleanest water in all of Akron. It was one of their advertising points. Now, what they didn't know and didn't understand about that kind of thing back then is in the beer process, of course, you're boiling water, so you're killing things off right there when you're boiling the water. And then once you ferment it into alcohol, the alcohol kills everything else.
And then in 1918, when Prohibition hit, they just stopped brewing beer. Margaretha passed away during that time, and then in 1928, when they repealed Prohibition, they started brewing beer here again. Now, they did do renovations to the building. They made it the first air-conditioned brewery in the United States, and they brewed here till the early 1960s, which they sold to Burger Brewery out of Cincinnati.
The latest round of these craft breweries, especially here in Akron, Cuyahoga Falls, Wadsworth, Kent, if you look at them, they're husband and wife teams. So they're at least half owned by a woman. And that's important because I want to promote that. I want to bring women in as drinkers, as brewers, as owners. I want to promote that beer is for everybody.
There are women in craft beer. There are lots of women in craft beer. In 1882, when Margaretha took over operations of the Burkhardt Brewery, not only was it unheard of for a woman to own a business in that time, in this environment, but also to own a beer business. And beer isn't a man's drink. Beer is everybody's drink, because beer is something that has been used for years to keep people alive. Beer has been an important part of our history, and women have been an important part of the beers.
So if you go back in history to the history of beer, beer originally was a woman's business, her enterprise, she was the manager of the kitchen of producing food and drink, so she made the beer. So all the way back to ancient Egypt. So women were making the beer and eventually selling the beer. In the 16th century, the women that made beer were called alewives, and they wore tall, pointy hats so that they could be spotted in a crowd, so that people could see, okay, there's the alewife, she's the one that's got the beer, I can track her down. They put brooms outside of their door whenever they were selling beer that denoted that beer was for sale.
And they kept cats, because the cats kept the mice away from eating all the grains. So pointy hat, broom, little cat, sounds like a witch, doesn't it? So what they did was they made these women who were brewing beer witches, and they made it seem like they were bad people, when in actuality they were just brewing beer. So there's a lot to history when it comes to women in the brewing industry. John Nayway, one of the owners of Thirsty Dog, brought us into the building. He saw and still sees the future of craft beer in Akron. And once he found out we were opening our own place, he invited us to inspect and see a little room he had found. And when he brought us into the space, it was him opening his doors, not just to the craft beer industry, but to us. And we've been forever grateful for that. And they've been a great partner. Again, whenever I have questions, whenever I get stuck, or even if I just want them to try something that I think is interesting, I take it over. I go over, and they're open and they're assisting. So we've done the same thing. Every time somebody has come into our establishment wanting to open their own place, we do everything we can to help them, from just paperwork or what to do, what not to do in the process of applying for the licensures, to loaning out equipment because theirs wasn't ready yet. I think for us, the ideal is craft beer is a community. We're all working together towards the same thing, building better beer.
Next up is the Bomb Shelter, and let me tell you, this place is the bomb. I don't care if you're 80 or you're 8, you're gonna find something you love here at the Bomb Shelter. Let's go see what this Bomb Shelter place is all about.
Well, the name we like it because it fits with the fact that the period of time that seems to resonate the most with people right now, and maybe we do need to start selling bombshells, which we actually do get a call once in a while on, is that it was during the age where a bomb shelter was a common item to purchase, which is like the late 50s and early 60s, especially after the Cuban Missile Crisis. So I think that I don't think it relates to a lot of the younger kids. They just think it's a cool name. A place where you can hide your stuff and protect your stuff, which is also our other sideline to what we do. We save stuff and protect it for the future. But but for the 50 and over crowd, that connection, that's where that fits in. It fits in beautifully with that. Yeah, we're at 24,000 square feet now, and there's a lot of stuff in here, and it's kind of hard to believe that it all showed up in just the 6.5 or so years that we've been here. And a lot of it leaves a lot too, so there's always this, it's not like you can go to a catalog and order 8 antique or vintage sofas and things like that. I mean, everything has to be found and acquired and cleaned and serviced in some way before it ends up being put in the into the store. It's just we just continually buy stuff, and people now bring a lot of stuff in for us to buy, and then we can some of it we find that we can put with other things and sell them. It's just a constant stream of repurposing, finding new homes for things. Akron is just an unusual and a place in America. You go to the West Coast and East Coast, the items that we have just don't exist. They're just not there. They weren't even really, you go to like Phoenix, I mean, it was nothing in 1958, really. By today's standards, it's bigger than, I'm sure bigger than Columbus, Ohio. Where we were able to essentially hoard all this stuff during the 50s and 60s that's selling so well today is because we were an economic powerhouse then, and a lot of these houses still have these things in them because people have lived in them for 60 years and now they're ready to move on or go to assisted living or they pass on, and the stuff gets into the market, and then what we do is acquire it to try to make an atmosphere here that triggers all kinds of emotions, and also find a new home for things. Make it speak to people today, because a lot of this stuff in the wrong environment doesn't. We have a professional stager who's actually got a degree from Kent interior design, who actually works here full time, and she does a lot of the staging and setting up. And so we give her a huge pile of stuff, and she just turns it into magic. She makes it look really interesting and inviting and new again, I guess would be a good way of putting it. So people then think, well, I can see that in my home now. So then we hope they purchase it, take it home, and enjoy it. So it's nice to see the stuff just kind of circulate through and find a new home that people are actively using again. And Akron's really, they have done such a good job of not having the same issues that maybe Youngstown or Cleveland have had. And it just shows the resilience of the people that live here. Well, I think that the store speaks differently to everybody. Sometimes it reminds them of a period in their childhood. Sometimes it reminds them of a popular TV show that they liked, like Mad Men. Seems to have been a driving force in the movement toward mid-century sales and things like that, finding new homes for that stuff. But we'll have somebody who in their 70s come in, and wow, this reminds me of, you know, when I was in a youth, or what this is the kitchen I had, you know. It's amazing how everything, you know, will find some way to speak to somebody, even somebody who's 25 who has, you know, they have no connection to most of this stuff except through media. And they may be collecting records, so they're buying records, you know, and then they see, well, I have a TV stand, or not, a record stand that they can put records in, so they buy that. You know, it touches everyone very interesting, and that's what the people, as they're leaving, will sit there and thank us sometimes for bringing that out. So it fits every age group, you know, from kids being experienced for the first time of playing maybe our Pac-Man machine in the hallway, to an 80-year-old who remembers being behind a hand plow in our garden department. I mean, it's just a very interesting experience. It's a museum you can buy everything at, essentially.
Now, to wrap this show up for all you car lovers out here, at an undisclosed location somewhere in Akron, underground, we're going to go see one of the most amazing private collection of cars I have ever seen in my entire life, and it's right here in Akron. Let's go see what this is all about.
My father never owned a car, so I made sure that when I turned 16 there was a car available, and it was an old one, and I had a couple more before I got married, and then I got married, and the cars went away except for the ones we were driving. So then after the three boys came along, and they sort of got 2 feet on the ground, and the business did the same thing, then I started buying a few cars, and a few more, and then a few more, and now me and my son are up to 80. I started filling out all the 1930 Fords, and I pretty well completed those years, and then I thought, this is getting sort of boring. People come down here and see the same thing all the time. So I started branching out, and that's why I've got a DeLorean and an Amphicar. That's the one that'll go in water. These cars are mostly all restored cars, and I want to tell you that because I have not restored one of them. I don't have that talent, I don't have that time, and it costs a lot of money. So I buy them done, as I refer to them. The way they look is the way that I bought them. The memorabilia, the neon signs and the regular signs and all the little gadgets, and I'm sort of a history buff, I guess you could call me. I don't refer to myself as that, but I do like a lot of history items. I have a great heart for people that worked back in the day and during the Depression, when my dad had to survive with his family of 7 children. So a lot of those are hand tools that people used, and so I've collected a number of those. But then the neon signs speak for themselves. All the different oil companies refined, and that's the type of thing I like to collect and display. And they're interesting anyway. You know, the beautiful neon signs. And I have a big V8 Ford sign down at the corner of the parking lot here, and that's the only one in the world. Those are the kind of things I like to collect. Some people think I'm a race car driver. I'm not. I had the 2 Indianapolis cars in the back, the yellow ones. They were actually raced on the track at Indianapolis. And then Goodyear Tire had them in their museum for a period of time. And then when they closed the museum, then I wound up with them. And same way with Art Arfons. He held a world land speed record at Bonneville. So I have 2 of his cars here. The last one they built, Tim Arfons, his son, and then the first one they ever put a jet engine in is over in the other building. It's a great big thing. So that's my exposure to racing, but I wasn't the driver. I was just a I call myself a wannabe. I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to be something else. I'd like to thank all the people that have been a part of my success. That's one reason we have this open house every year. It's about our 14th year, and we don't charge anybody anything. We don't advertise it, because if we did, we'd just ruin it, because we have, like the last couple of years, we had over 900 people go through here in one evening, and 4 of them were the local mayors. Now, without advertising, that's a pretty good record. And if we publish it in the Beacon Journal or any other local media, we'd ruin the evening. So we invite people like you or whomever, and that they spread it around. So we'll wind up with maybe 800 to 1,000 people here, maybe go through here tonight.
Thank you for watching yet another episode of Around Akron with Blue Green. Now, if you have an idea for a segment or you just want to say hey, you can reach out on the website at www.aroundakronwithbluegreen, or you can reach me on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next time on Around Akron with Blue Green.